welcome to the Death of a Dream podcast. Experiencing some crazy hazy difficulties today, but here we are, trying to live our best life, trying to bring this all to you. It is a labor of love, my good people. Let's go ahead and dive into our greatness. Yesterday, I think, the most important thing for the entirety of this journey has just been honoring my own needs. And we're going to really dive into that today. But yesterday, it was just like I had been feeling this pull, this need to just have this meeting to go do and talk to this person, and being able to verbalize the importance of that is really important for me, and just honoring my own needs and my own truth, I think has been a big step in the right direction. And yesterday I found strength in my ability to communicate those needs. And that hasn't always been something that I was able to do. And, guess what? We're going to talk about why today and really start to dig into the depths of this work and this truth and being and understanding of who we are and really where we go from here. So, okay, that was a short great thing. Go ahead, take time for yourself. Recognize yourself for your great thing. You can't skip over it. It's so vital that you continue doing this, that you find greatness in yourself, in your everyday, in your life, and in your being. We have to start to secure ourselves with that greatness energy. It's the only way we can exchange that vibe in the universe. So this is a great way. Just start calling it into your life. You start to manifest the result of being great, telling you. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Let's go ahead and dive in. So this morning I was reading in my book and I was hit with this story that the author had shared. And she was talking about how this one time she went into a bank and she could feel the energy of unconfidence and energy of this person needing to be right and needing to be confident in what they were communicating to her. And she knew that he wasn't. She knew that this person wasn't right, but she honored their need to be right and their need to be confident over honoring her own. And so that meant that she had to come back and essentially take 2 trips to finish up the work that she needed to do because she had honored that first. And this really took me back today in me processing what that means. And a lot of us read some sort of energy where you can feel the angst in a situation. You can feel, I don't even know that I'm describing it right. I am going to interview someone on this topic, hopefully in the Finding Freedom Friday series, so we can start to feel this one out a little bit deeper, get a little bit deeper in this empathic work, and better understand it. But here's the deal. Here's the breakdown if you don't want to get all crazy into the investigation of it. If you can feel someone else's energy or feelings if you can kind of read that, intuitive, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to put on that, if you have that ability, there's a chance that you read, absorb, and react to someone else's energy before your own. And, remember when I said last week that I felt like I was alone or lost? I think it has something to do with this little piece of information that we uncovered today, and it will not stay little for long. This will be a big, blown out thought process of me owning and understanding my own energies. And, right? So think about this. You go into a situation, you are very sure of what you want to do, what you want to accomplish, where you want to go, and you walk into the room and the vibe is just different. And you know that you have to table that because it's not the time, right? Or someone's not ready for that, or, right, there's some sort of disempowering energy to what you were trying to bring. And so you pass. You pass on the opportunity, you pass on the ability, you pass on all of it. And you walk through like you weren't impacted. Because so many times we're just like, that needed to come first. And I think about myself when I started on this journey, when we really started doing this work, most of my life has been, and it's weird because I would say largely people would probably comment on my confidence and my assurance, and probably that I am quite selfish. I don't think loving and giving would necessarily be something that they would put with me. I think that's probably changing, definitely. But I wouldn't say that people would go ahead and stamp me with that right now. But I think here's the thing. There just really isn't this ability to see what it is that you need if you're always looking for what other people need. And so what do we do then? How do we start looking out for ourselves? How do we start tabling that other energy? And my meeting yesterday really helped me to see that some energies aren't for you to fix and correct and feel and do something about, right? Like if you're walking in and there's no connection and there's no reason, like stand true to what you need, right? And so last week I had voiced, that I was needing support, that I was struggling with where I was at, and people aren't used to that from me. First off, they definitely aren't used to me being vulnerable. Second off, it's a hard energy shift. When you all of a sudden put your needs on the table, when you're constantly helping and reacting to everyone else's needs, right? And so many of us fall into that sight line so easily and unknowingly, right? Until I read and kind of called that out and saw it put into words, what I was feeling and just generally what I react to, I wasn't even aware that that's pretty much what we've been talking about, right? This need and call to live life on our own terms, right? It's written on my board right up there. Build a life-changing empire to empower people to live life on their terms. And in order to live life on your terms, first, probably the most important step would be to know what those are. to start a journey of discovery of self and understanding of who you are and where you want to go, inevitably. And when we don't look at that, we allow other people to direct us, right? So that's kind of the first precursor to all of this. And as I've been journeying on, that's not the only thing, right? That's not the only ability. And if you hear the energy read, the empath type stuff, and that doesn't quite hit with you, that may not be something that you have. It may not be something that you feel or know, or like me, it may not be something you've ever acknowledged as that, but it probably is something that you have. You just have never really put a name to it. That intuition of just knowing right or wrong in any given situation, of just knowing good or bad person. You know, that read that you get, that is something bigger and definitely something that we could be using for our own strength and good. But a lot of times we don't. Why? Because we don't understand what to do with it, right? Early on in mine, the basic use of my power was use A or 1. I just held up a 1 in the video, so that's going to get confusing. A, to get the things that I want. Bottom line. Like when I was younger, you know, if I could just use this superpower to read the energy and be able to say the right things in the right moments, boom, I could have those brand new pair of sneakers. And like you wonder why I was so spoiled. Well, like I got that early on. If you have that ability, you can understand what needs to go where. And so that really was the basis of the use of this power early on. Now, later in life, in the field that I was in, marketing, right? This could be a superpower. Your ability to walk through someone's experience, the entirety of it, and feel that and be able to build things in reaction to that. Superpower, right? And even when I was working with different vendors, like I could feel what they needed from me and I was able to give that to them. Now, this is where the problem comes in. This is where the burnout comes in. This is where the exhaustion with this empathic nature comes in, right? Because we're never putting ourselves on the table. If we're constantly in this state of reacting and serving other people's energies, if that's always where we're at, and we never take time to put ourselves on the table, and we never feel like we should, right? That's the bigger struggle. You know, even last week when I was like, no, I have to voice these things. I can't just be this happy Hanna person all the time. Like, I am both people. I exist in both instances. Right? But the reads that I was getting from other people is that they don't have time for that. They don't embrace nor acknowledge this person, really the things that they need from me or what they're used to from me. Right? Happiness. Support for them and their low points. Movement for them through their low places. And so, right? Then I just go ahead and like either hang up the phone or just fast forward through these negative moments and allow myself to continue serving them, because the discomfort of the energetic divide is too strong for me to understand how to deal with right now, right? And so I think it's just like continue searching out who those people can be for you. Some people you may just have too much history to go in and heal that and fix that. Or some people may just want to be in that victim state, which essentially moves them into kind of a energy vampire state where they're going to continue to suck your energy anytime that you get it, which is okay. You know, I think it's okay as long as we're able to return the favor. But when it becomes really one-sided and you're constantly called to serve their needs, you're constantly called to show up and help them, it can create a bigger divide, right? Because you feel like I felt last week, unheard, unseen, and unable to show up as your full self as you present, because we all have darkness. It's impossible to think that we don't. It's silly to think that it doesn't exist, in fact. Like, and it's an impossible narrative to live under, that you're just happy all the time. And I think, for me, I'm largely contradictory. Is that a word? I don't know. Right? I feel like I'm a constant walking contradiction. Here I am as this deep, full feeler, also walking through the world as this optimistic, happy person. And I feel both extremes when I allow myself to. It was always easier, and it was always more known and accepted that I'm happy, that I do have power, but most of that power just comes with this happy person, with this optimistic person. I'm only allowed to be this bright, shiny version of myself. And, you can't really keep shining if that's the only place where you're allowed to be. Like, so much of the shininess comes out of pressure and explosiveness. And I didn't really want to get to that point where we just explode and everything goes crazy. So we had to start looking into this and healing it. And trust, there have been plenty of explosion moments. Do not kid yourself. But I think it's just this. If you're constantly showing up in the world to serve everyone else and not even... it'll be easy for a lot of people in the service industry, for a lot of people in care industry to go, oh yeah, I do that. But I'm talking about the absorption and understanding of other people's energies and needs without them having to speak them. I know, right? Okay, we're going there. Yes, I told you we can't not go here. This is stemming from all the way back in, I believe the specific episode was in April. March, later March, earlier April. And I remember just being like, I just want to feel like I want to feel again. I want to feel. And every day since then, I've been trying to better understand what that means, right? And I think this is where we're at with it. That feeling of wanting to feel is, right, the empathy side that I was convinced I didn't have. And I don't think it was that I didn't have it. Right? Because I talk about being interviewed and being like, yeah, I'm just not compassionate. It actually serves me very well. Because I cut through emotion and I cut right into the process and I could get the job done there. And somewhere in that March, April timeline, I start asking for those feelings back. Then I'm overwhelmed by what I just asked for, right? Like, sideline, hurt by the amount of feelings that I had allowed myself to feel. And then all of a sudden everything comes to a head and everything is just so overwhelming, and I have to completely remove myself from that space because I can't even understand now that I've asked and called in this higher level of energy and allowed myself to fully feel it, and allowed myself for the first time ever to feel negative and positive energy exchanges. I didn't know even how to process all of that. And so that just took like a whole bunch of silence and reading and reflecting and testing, right? Like going out, being hurt by the energies, better understanding what the energies were saying, where they were taking me, how I was even reading them. And now to this place where we are right now, understanding that a good portion of my life, if not all of it, has been spent reading energies, reading people's thoughts, and reacting and bending to make them feel more comfortable. To an absolute fault of mine, to an absolute misalignment of the entirety of my life. Now, obviously, it's all played out exactly as it was supposed to be. And maybe this is a piece of helping other people to understand their powers, to really embrace, acknowledge, and love them for what they are. Because I think a lot of times, right, we hide from them. We don't understand what they are, which leads to a whole bunch of distress. And I think about the distress points that have been in my life, and they started happening so early on. And I think it always had something to do with that moment where I had to start, signing myself off. And why I was so sure and so confident, and I don't know. I don't know that I'll ever know how I started off on that track, but how quickly I was derailed because of this ability, right? Like, and now here we are. Here we are talking about it. That's 32 years. Well, let's see. It happened when I was 7, this moment. And let's see. I don't know. I'm not good at math, but you're probably laughing at me right now because you probably know exactly how many years we're actually talking about, and I don't. If I was 37, I would say 30, and that would be a lot easier, and I suppose that I could just do some subtraction, but I'm not willing to do that right now because I'm good at math, but, so much of my childhood was spent missing weeks and weeks of school that I am certain I skipped over simple subtraction and multiplication. And as a result, it's not automatic for me like it is for some of you. And it's not that I'm bad at math, it's that I just missed this portion. And you know what? It's okay. We're still here. Using calculators. Surprisingly, I'm actually really skilled with statistics and numbers and the crunching of data, but I have always struggled with simple mathematics. Okay, that's a true life admission right there. That's vulnerable. It's right there. I am not great at math. I am not quick with it. I have always wanted to be. It just is not something that happened for me because of my circumstances. I'm saying. Still a victim here. Okay. Also, I'm not automatic at right and left. Okay? Confessions. Here they are. Now you know. Like, I have to think about it. Why do I have to think about it? It's so easy. I don't know. Maybe there was another portion that I missed. Please help me. I don't know how I got here. I don't know what's going on. I'm just trying to help. Maybe I can't because of all these things. Okay. Regardless, what I want you to start focusing on is when you're tabling your own needs to help someone else. And I'm fine if that helps you do your job better. I'm fine if that helps you relationally, but I want you to start to pay attention to how often you're tabling your own needs to serve someone else's needs. Right? Because the moment that I started to pick up on this, the moment that I read this morning, I was like, holy cow. That was basically my life's work. Right? And then I start to process and think about all the times that I did that probably put me at a disadvantage. In fact, completely took me out of the equation, which is probably why I never got, those advancements, those moves, because I never clearly indicated, in any time that people tried to even put me on the table, I would go ahead and put them right back on the table because it made me uncomfortable, the thought of serving myself. Man, maybe that's a portion of the importance of the greatness grounding, right? Because people who think and act and read and do things of this nature that have this higher feeling, maybe we're used to the absorption, and we're used to the service that comes along with empathy, and we're not used to flipping that back on ourselves and really finding ways to serve ourselves. And maybe that's hurting all of us, Like, how often are we running out there to fix the problem because of this innate ability that we have to feel without people even having to say? And yikes, right? So today, start just paying attention to it. It's probably going to lead you some clues. It's probably going to help you. There will definitely be discomfort, especially with people who have been using that for themselves, have been using that power for the advancement of whatever it is that you do, and have been using it for their own benefit or against you to like disempower you or to help you go ahead and like drive yourself insane. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I give you too much homework, but maybe as we continue to advance to this new place, the biggest piece that we have always known is that we have to be a part of the conversation. And today I had this realization that it wasn't just that discomfort that I spoke to, and this would have been early on, the discomfort of never being called on, of never being called to the table, was probably a result of this idea that I was always watching out for other people's energies and serving those. And so there's no wonder why I wasn't called on and I wasn't brought up to the table, right? They couldn't bring me there, so I was never willing to say what that was, right? And I didn't know what it was, and inevitably it's because it wasn't supposed to be anything. But all of my time was built reacting to people's energies and giving them what they needed. Therefore, tabling my own needs. Therefore, leaving me extremely dissatisfied, leaving me extremely hell-bent on understanding why no one was listening to me, but never speaking. And, that narrative, the narrative of the suffocation of self, of the no voice, was something that was trying to break free. And I think more than anything, it probably has led me right where we got today. So, start just seeing, testing it, seeing if you can feel what other people think and say before, and if you can, there's a likelihood that you're doing what I was doing, which was serving that person first. As always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. What are you going to do? Change the world.